Okay, so can you see what can you see?
Cultural capital for anti-racism.
Yep, and then employment and job preparedness.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's just the one slide that you can see, right?
Yes.
Okay, so today we are going to be talking about employment and job preparedness, which I think is really, really important. I have something in the chat, let me see. Okay, Jemima, second one, okay.
We can help monitor the chat here for you.
Okay, thanks, that'd be great. And is Felicia here to help perhaps with the notes?
She's gonna be a little bit late. She has a standing meeting every Saturday apparently. So she's gonna be logging in shortly here.
Okay, Carolyn, would you mind taking notes for me, please, whilst Ashley and I can monitor the chat?
No problem, I can do that.
Okay.
And we're also recording this, so we'll be able to refer back to it afterwards.
Okay, great. Great. So employment and job preparedness. I think this was one of the topics that came from the SOS Congo team, and I think is crucially important for young people. And so I hope I do it justice. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into quick housekeeping and then we can move. Okay, so I like to work with this model, which, like I said to you the last time, is a model around communication created by Tim Fox, who's the Vice President of Business Relations and Equity Strategy at Calgary Foundation. And I think everybody's here, but just for consistency, I'll just go through it really quickly. So we want to make sure that we are all present in this virtual space and with each other. I know that I really commend Jemima for coming in, even though she's at work. But for the rest of you who aren't at work, be present. And we are open to new ideas, ways of thinking, and feedback. We listen deeply, are curious, and to seek new knowledges and understanding. Actually, who wants to read the next one? We bring awareness. Just unmute and speak. I'll pick someone.
To turn the go and say hippity hop before we start.
Hippity hop. We bring awareness to our biases, assumptions, and judgments.
All right, thank you. Afo?
Yeah. We hold a space of trust and confidentiality.
Yep. Junior, are you here, Junior?
We focus on possibility and see obstacles as opportunities for learning.
Okay. Who else is here? Christiana?
We acknowledge and appreciate each other's gifts, strengths, and contributions.
Thank you. Lavi, please.
We challenge ideas, not people.
Pamela?
I think we missed one.
Yeah.
We did?
Okay. Yeah, we hold brave space for courageous conversations.
Okay. Papa and Dembe, would you mind doing us the honor, please, sir?
So the focus. Okay. We acknowledge and appreciate each other's gifts, strength, and contribution.
Okay. Okay. Have we got any left? I think there's one or two left, right? So who's left? Raisa?
We allow discomfort to lead our growth.
Yeah. Cristiano, are you here? I think we have one last one. Okay. Are you here, Cristiano? Okay, Carolyn, can you do the honors of reading the last one?
We take accountability for our own learning, knowledge extraction versus knowledge mobilization.
All right, okay, so let's get started. So before we jump in, let's look at the learning goals for this session today. We're going to look at career skills. And when we talk about career skills, we're looking at things like communication and soft skills. We're looking at enhancing your professional development. We're looking at future-proofing the skills that you do have. And we're going to look at the elevator pitch. That might either come immediately after or at the end. And then we'll look at job searching preparation. And oftentimes we talk about the employment, we talk about job searching preparation, but we don't often focus on actually, well, how do we keep a job? In the sense that so much of the work is, how do we get a job? How do we get a job? How do we get a job? But how do we keep a job? And so here, right through, we're going to be talking about job preparation and also keeping a job. And so I'm going to be highlighting some of the things that we need to not just get a job, but also keep a job. Okay. Right. So let's get started. I always start off with a question. So what is your understanding of employment and job preparedness? When you see this, what comes to mind? Feel free to repeat anything I've said or add anything that you'd like to add.
I see myself going on YouTube and watching videos how to how to pass an interview, what questions do they ask, how to answer, and how to defend myself and everything.
Okay, okay. All right, Christiana?
For me, I saw it as like already being hired and understanding your job responsibilities, as well as well, the skills that you need to accomplish your job tasks.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Who else?
I see it as like being eligible. It's almost like getting in for a program at school or getting in for a project. Like you have to make sure you're competitive with everybody else and that you meet all the requirements to be able to have a hope of getting a foot in the door.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, so you're all correct, Christiana. So we have the condition of having paid work. So obviously understanding, just like Christiana said, what are your responsibilities and executing them well. Preparing for the workforce or for the job. And how do you keep it? And how do you keep it? How do you grow? How do you elevate? How do you get promoted? So it's not just, okay, yeah, let's work hard to get the job. But once you're in it, how do you succeed at it? And how do you sort of grow? How do you elevate? How do you get promotions and things like that? Okay. And what would you say are some of the challenges? What do some of the challenges look like for people in general? And let's say Black people or Black youth in gaining employment and in being prepared for the workforce. What are some of the challenges we face?
Complicated names on the resume.
Oh, sorry, is that Ike? Or was it someone else? I heard two voices.
I was talking, then I muted myself to let the other person go. I'm not sure who it was.
Who was it?
It was me, but you can go.
Oh, okay. I said names, like complicated names on resume. People kind of already know that you're Black, like maybe based upon some of the experience that you have volunteer-wise. So there's that first, like just trying to pass that first kind of stage there. Sometimes they can filter you out due to those things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, names. What else?
I was gonna say stereotypes, like for example, that Black people are always late or that they're less competent.
Okay, stereotypes. Okay, so Black people are late and they are less competent. Okay, what else? What other challenges do we face?
I would say lack of adequate skills for certain jobs.
Skills. So what do you mean by skills, Carolyn?
A lack of experience in getting those skills that are required for certain jobs. So say all you've been doing is working in fast food, and now you're done university and you want to go work in your field, but all you've worked your whole entire time is in fast food, and so there's a struggle in showing some transferable skills.
Right. So those transferable skills, right? Okay. Okay, and is this for, let's say, a graduate or just anyone in general?
I said that again.
Is this for, let's say, a young person who's just graduated and let's say
Yeah.
before they graduate? Okay, okay.
Yeah, usually a young person graduating or maybe pivoting fields. Like if you're pivoting fields as an older person, that could be a challenge.
Okay, okay, yep. Let's take one more.
For me, before we even go further there, I appreciate what everyone said before me, but there's something I would like us to consider. Sure. The field of study, it goes hand in hand with what my predecessor just said. She spoke about skills, but I would like to speak about the field of study, what you chose to study at school. Does it help you to get a job in this current world you are living in? We need to be aware of our environment, what is relevant right now, and what am I going to study? For example, years ago, philosophy was so famous. For you to be seen in the society, you need to be a philosopher. But right now, where are you going to go with the philosophy? Unless you just become a teacher like me. So know your environment, know the markets, know what is relevant, and go for it. Don't contradict yourself. You go to study philosophy, but you want to become an IT. You don't want to top up your skills and so on. That's what I would like to add also.
That is spot on. Like I have a slide on that, which is future-proofing yourself in the sense that, you have to be really aware of the market to really understand what is going on before you actually choose. So while some of us, like for me, I probably went down my route because my dad was like, this is really good. You should do it. It will be good. But if you don't have one, there's two things that is required. You need that passion for it. And you may not have it to begin with, but read up on it, YouTube. Like we live in a world where the information is endless. You literally have to stop the information and entering because everywhere you go that you're being bombarded with information. But if there's something you like to do, something you would like to get into, really do your research and understand the market within which you're operating. Because even if you think about, let's say, the oil and gas sector, whilst it's still to a degree thriving, but in the next 30, 40, 50 years, it may be less because we're looking more at more renewable, more green technology and things like that. And we're finding that over the last 5 years, so many people in the oil and gas sector have lost their job in Alberta. And so they're now faced with having to reskill. And so not that I'm saying don't enter the oil and gas sector, but just like Lavi said, you need to really do your research into what field of study you want to enter into and understand the market and what it might look like in the future. What does the future look like and how can you basically future-proof yourself for that? But even if in the unlikely event that you do all your research and in 20 years or 10 years, they don't need that skill, you have to be nimble. You have to be ready to sort of pivot and reskill and upskill. And we're moving into a world of now micro-credentialing. Gone are the days where if you wanted to do marketing, you had to do a whole diploma on marketing or a whole degree on marketing. Now you can just go to all of these online schools, do 2 courses and you're good to go. And so, absolutely. Oh, this is really cool. One more, because I like to, when I understand the challenges, and I'll make sure that I'm addressing them throughout the lecture or throughout the session, right? So one more. What other challenges do we as either Black people or young people or young people-ish face?
I don't know if I may say, I think of the challenge of coping with the culture of the organization or the enterprise that you get in. Sometimes the conflict there, the culture, I don't know if you understand what I mean, the culture of the enterprise.
Mm-hmm. Would you mind giving us an example? So should anyone be a little unclear?
I don't know if I can. Yeah, you enter into organization or you get a job, but you are in, but I would say that you also lost because you find the way people do the things. It seems like there's underlying cultures that you find yourself in conflict with. Then it takes you time That means you are not really integrated in that kind of environment that you're working with. And that brings you frustration, basically because you don't know what kind of, how people really operate the things and at a whole. It's not that you don't know your job. You know your job, but there's I don't say it's a philosophical way, but there's always a culture where the people, they come up with a way, a style of doing things.
I would like to, okay, so if Papa is based, I would like to add on it to be more practical, an example.
Maybe, yeah.
As early as I got here, I was not waiting to get a blue collar job. I got a job in a road maintenance company, and those are industries where you need to be tough. You need to speak like them. You need to act like them. And mostly would speak using the F words. I'm a very serious person, logic person, so I did not go that route speaking the F thing. Give me that F thing, give me that F, and so on. I did not speak it. I was very serious. I was not liked. I did not fit in the environment because the boss was my friend from South Africa. He requested me that, man, I'm giving you 4 weeks to find another job because you're not fitting here. So it's either you fit in or you don't. For example, the opposite. You come in an industry where people are serious, but you come like a musician with your dreadlocks and your pants down there and so on. So that I think to be a little bit practical, that's what Papande was speaking about.
I think, yeah, that you got my mind. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You are absolutely correct. That culture aspect, you are absolutely correct. And this is sometimes behind the reason but why they may be they'll be more reluctant to hire us and less reluctant to promote us. And so we have to now find it's a very intricate dance that we have to do, in which we're still maintaining our authentic self, but at the same time, we're taking steps to fit and integrate. I mean, there's even a study that was conducted that said that because of immigrants, let's say, inability to fit in and network and this and that and the other, we're not promoted as much. And so we tend to be more qualified than our peers. We tend to be more qualified than our peers. More qualified than our peers. And so it's important, that culture piece. It's really important. Yeah.
Christiana raised your hand again.
Okay, Christiana, last one.
Okay, I just wanted to add one thing that I've read about, I think it was sometime last year, explaining that especially within immigrant workers, some don't take the opportunity to move up the hierarchy. And so this ends up with us being more vulnerable to being furloughed or let go and for any other reason. So I guess if you're not considered, for example, non-replaceable by the company that you work for, it's easier, it puts you in a vulnerability when it comes to keeping that job.
Yes, absolutely. So these reasons are all great and they are practical and they're real. And these are things that I'm sure we have either all faced or will face. And so in this session today, I'm wanting to sort of give us some tips and tricks and skills, to sort of either avoid that from happening or these challenges becoming our reality or mitigating the impacts that it will have. Okay. All right. Okay, so we've done that. And how do we address those challenges? So I have written here, name on resumes, stereotypes of, let's say, Black people, lack of experience in transferable skills, field of study, so picking the right study, the right course, the right degree, the right training, culture. And so how do we address those challenges? I'll just maybe 2 or 3 answers.
I just wanted to pipe in because what Lavi said, I think that is something a lot of us Black men face here. I remember my job in university. I had a job with a friend at a place called like Gino Windows. Like we're just working in the warehouse space in Calgary in general, or any other job. It's really aggressive. People come at you really aggressive and they ask you, give me this, give me that. And it's one of those vulnerable spaces, especially for us. It's a huge challenge because if you respond, you're the most aggressive. You know, even though it's so intense and it's bizarre, it's something that I felt. What's the word there? Sorry, the word just escaped me. But something that I felt that I saw in other settings too. I thought that it would only be in those kind of aggressive warehouse settings, but it's almost the way like hazing happens here. It's like like once you come in, they have to like tease you, mock you, do something, and like you have to like laugh at it. And I'm not the one to laugh at that kind of stuff either. So a lot of times people just don't like me, and I'd never know why. I'm like, I didn't do anything to you. Like I'm doing my job here, but not understanding that cultural piece of how to fit in and how to do things like that is a huge challenge that I always face, because I never want to be the clown. I never want to be the one who you can just joke at or do those kind of things at. And that seems to be one of the biggest ways that you fit in, or you have to kind of like take it. So like that culture piece, yeah, we've all definitely tasted it. We used to call Gino the plantation. You'd get there and they'd separate you by like race. It'd be like the white people be the supervisors. Then there's like the Indian people who are like maybe like in between. And then there's like the Latinos and the Blacks like at the bottom. And the Latinos say, well, we're not Black at all. So it's like Black really, really towards the bottom, you know? So like you come into work, they take your stuff, and like, how do you stand up for yourself? It was really something that for a lot of you guys entering the workforce or gonna be entering the workforce, it's really interesting, like that power dynamic, or how people try to like flex or impose their power on you, or somebody having a bad day somewhere else, like try to put that on you. Sorry, I will shut up. I know it's mostly for you guys.
No.
No, that's a good one. I mean, Ike, if you could come up. Oh, sorry, Papa and Ndembe.
No. I was saying that's really why I mentioned that the challenge of the culture you get in, and then maybe to answer your question, you ask how we cope with those challenges, or how we. I think the first thing I would like to share or to say here that we should be maybe remain students of culture, of learning, and we should develop this kind of skill of observing where you are. I mean, observe and learn so that you can know what to do. I would say remain students of culture, if I may say this, because there are cultures, not only one culture. So still learn how people do the things and what they do, and then know how you can enter in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Remain students of culture. Remember, even in our last session, we spoke about empowerment, and there were 3 key components. One, you have to have that self-empowerment, and that would involve, obviously, one, there's addressing systemic issues, but also the internal issues. And so yes, you are confident in yourself. If you have that confidence in yourself and you're empowered in yourself, even if you do get to encounter those kind of let's say jobs, you're almost creating an armor around yourself that is more difficult to penetrate. Because even I know people who, let's say, have worked in the rigs, and they have to really sort of fix their mindset, because if you don't fix your mindset, you will come out just like I was about to say SOX Congo, just like Ike is saying. You'll come out being more aggressive, you'll come out being more, just sort of not more aggressive, and and that sort of thing. You either become extremely meek, or aggressive because they're taking advantage, or you're aggressive, you're like, I'm not going to take this, so I'm going to give them pound for pound. And so it's really important for you to have that self-confidence and have that self-empowerment. And of course, explore your environment. And I like what Preparedness said, that you are really a permanent student of culture. I like that. One last one, and then we'll move on. How do we address
I think one thing, it comes back to what we were saying last session, and that having that community, that network of support as well. I think it's a very big thing, because we talked a lot about like Carol was saying about the necessary skills and all that, or what Lavi was saying about like what field to go into, and like having that network of people that can support you, gives you their input as well, is a very big thing. Correct. In terms of knowing what's a good route to go.
Correct. Absolutely. You're correct. And you know what the interesting thing is? If you have the right networks and you have the people who like you where you are, you can be yourself 100%. But if you're in an environment where they're like, oh, I don't know this person, then it's a little bit more challenging. And so just like I was saying, is really putting yourself. So part of that is also, because I know sometimes, we make decisions as Black people, to take these kind of jobs because obviously there's a financial need for us to do it. But if there isn't that absolute financial need to do, then I would not even suggest it, because it will really it's not good for your mindset. But obviously if that financial need is there, then you got to do what you got to do. You just have to make sure you just empower yourself and strengthen your mind so that you can withstand and do what needs to be done for that period of time. Okay. But today, thank you, Afo, thank you, Ike, thank you, Papa Ndembe, thank you, Lavi, thank you, Christiana, thank you, everybody. And so today we're really going to be looking at this whole idea around employment and job preparedness from an empowered perspective, in the sense that we already know what the challenges are. And we're going to be we're looking at strategies to overcome them, and for them not to sort of take prominence in our mind. Instead, we're empowered and we're looking at what can we do to fix, what can we do to address. This is our goal, and how do we bridge the gap between right now and where we intend to be, okay? And, okay, so the first thing that we're gonna be looking at, what do employers look for in a candidate? From the fast food to the non-profits to the for-profits, what do they look for in a candidate? What is that one thing that is pervasive right through?
You mean in terms of soft skills?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pamela's raised your hand. Oh, sorry, Lily.
Go ahead, ladies first, please.
Pamela?
I would say enunciation with your words, because they don't really want people who can't speak English that well or can't communicate with customers.
Okay. Okay, so communication. Okay, all right, yes. Lavi? Thank you, Pamela.
I wanted to address it in terms of people's person, which will cover so many things, because I do not disagree with Pamela, but there are some people who are well-spoken, but they are not people's people or people's person. They fall short. So being people's person, that means you will have your heart under your feet, if I can use that word. You know how to address each one concerns accordingly. You are approachable, you know also how to approach people and so on. That's the key things on top of which so many will add.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. So employers, of course, the obvious, they want the skills, they want the qualifications, they want the competence, but they also want soft skills. And many people would struggle to find a work in their field. And this translates to, you don't have the soft skills that we're looking for. So yeah. The skills,
sorry, Christiana just added, where did it go? Interpersonal skills and team player.
Interpersonal skills, team player, absolutely. The skills, we can achieve them. Black people, we're renowned for our achievements. and our many degrees and trainings and this and that and that and that and the other, you often find a lot of Black people who are in positions that they are way overqualified for their peers who are at this exact same level will have considerably less experience, considerably less qualifications. And so for me, skills, qualifications, and competence is not something I think we lack. I think it's something we have in spades. And even if we don't have it, we have the ability to get it. But soft skills. What is your understanding of soft skills? I think it's related to what we've already been talking about, but what is your understanding of soft skills? So soft skills, they're the social skills and personality traits that help you to interact with others and succeed in the workplace. Mm-hmm. So in contrast to, let's say, technical skills, soft skills about how you work rather than what you do. And it's all about effective communication skills. It's really at the heart of that. So good communication. Oh, sorry, Papa and Demby, you want to say something?
No, I'm just saying exact.
Okay. Yeah, so good communication really forms a foundation of many other sought after skills. So what are some examples of some soft skills that employers are looking for right across the board? I think we've mentioned some already, but any that we haven't mentioned?
Being agreeable, like would that be a kind of soft skill?
What do you mean? Not that I disagree, I just want you to unpack it a little bit. What do you mean by agreeable?
I'm just connecting it maybe to some of the stuff we were talking about before, and connecting it to like what like Lavi's saying, like maybe not being somebody who's gonna come in and dominate other people. I think in terms of soft skills, I feel like that's something for us Africans or Black people in general, Black men maybe, that we discuss amongst ourselves. So making sure that you're in that space between empowered and meek, not too close to empowered, somebody who can take direction, somebody who will just listen, not rock the boat too much. Like that's what I was thinking more with agreeable, but I'm not at all sure if that's in line with the soft skills. Okay. And Raisa raised her hand.
So soft skills, for me, I don't think it's about not rocking the boat. It's all about how. So you can rock the boat, but it's how. I mean, for example, I was part of organizing a conference with supposedly woke people. And at the heart of the conference was diversity, equity, inclusion. That was the heart of it. And I could tell, I could see the apprehension when I came in that they felt that I would be that angry Black woman that was there to shake everybody up and defend everything and argue with everyone. And there are many ways to skin a cat. That might be someone's idea, but that's not the only way to move the needle and to get things to change. And so we cannot all do the one thing. We need a plethora of people doing different things, and that is what helps to push the needle along. But yes, sorry, Raisa. And then Pamela.
I don't know if it's on the list, but I think problem solving and creativity can be one. They might look for people who create ideas, who will add something to the company, and you're not just there to just work, you're also there to learn and create and everything. So yeah.
Correct. Problem solving. There is no job that doesn't require problem solvers. The one thing that people hate, and even me when I work with people, so I'm like, oh, there's a problem. I'm like, yeah, okay, how do we fix it? And so problem solvers, being able to sort of understand how do we solve problems and sort of taking on problems head on. Even if you're working at McDonald's, there are going to be problems that might occur. You know, there might be a situation, maybe the smoothie machine breaks down. Are you going to be like, smoothie machine's down, and that's it? You're like, okay, well, how do you fix it? Let's get in the technician in. Let's do this, let's do that, let's do the other. And 2 hours later, the machine is up and running. as opposed to waiting 3 days for someone to call and that sort of thing. So problem solving. Creativity, you're absolutely important in that we used to be like, okay, well, we have to think out, we have to think outside the box. And I say, throw away the box. There's no box. There is no box. Because there is no box. And let's just be creative and innovative and think of new ideas and that sort of thing. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
I would like to give an example here. Very often I receive calls. I mean, people call me. I think they're doing promotion or things, where they work. But what they do, they will call my number and they don't say anything. And then they expect me to talk. No, I will not talk. You call me, tell me I'm so-and-so, and what is what I want to do, then I will respond to you.
Yeah.
So it went on off and went on. Another time I knew that it was coming from TELUS and whatever they were saying. And then I talked to somebody, why do you call and then don't talk, you expect me to? So I lecture them on that. I said, you cannot do that to me. I know what you're doing. So you have to talk so that I can talk to you. To me, that is, they're doing promotion, but it's a lack of soft skills that they don't have it right there. Right. So that is an example. And I will say courtesy, it is an aspect of soft skills.
Right, you're correct. You're correct. You're correct. And thank you, Papandem. And you know what? Gone are the days where you can go to your job 9 to 5, and that's it. And you just pen pushing and go. Now, and the thing with Black people is we're gonna stand out. In fact, we stand out. Unless you work for, let's say, La Vie may have the privilege of working in an immigrant serving agency, so he might not be the only Black person, but oftentimes we find ourselves in an environment where we may be the only Black person or few Black people. And so we are going to stand out. So we have to stand out for good. We have to stand out for good as opposed to stand out for bad. So if you're known to be that person who is problem solving, you're known to be that person who has great, you're going to stand out. So whatever you do is going to stand out. So if you, let's say, come in late, and let's say a whole bunch of people, white people come in late, they won't see that, but they'll see yours because you're going to stand out. If you take a few days off, you have a few sick days off, and a whole bunch of white people have a few sick days off, they won't see it, but they will see yours. And so you need to be able, so you're going to stand out anyway, so stand out for good. And when you're at work, don't see it as a chore, even if it's not something you want to be in, but just take it, say, wherever I find myself, I'm going to do the absolute best, and it's going to be a learning experience. And so that problem solving piece, if you get renowned, if you get known to be that problem solving person and that person who is creative, and you have a boss who cares about productivity, you're going to see yourself getting promoted. Because people are like, well, look at you, white people. The Black person has come in, they're problem solving, they have all the skills. I have confidence in their work, okay? But this isn't guaranteed, so we're gonna talk about other ways as well. But yeah, so those soft skills, and here are some examples. So communication, teamwork, adaptability, in the sense that, okay, something changes, you're able to adapt, you're able to pivot. You're not like, oh my God, it's a pandemic and everything is crazy. You're like, okay, it's a pandemic, that's fine. What do I need to do? I need to adapt, I need to shift. Okay, fine, I've lost my job in oil and gas. What can I do? How can I reskill? Problem solving, creativity. So you guys you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. And what about online soft skills? What are the online soft skills? Because now we're all online. What are some of the online soft skills? How do you conduct your online businesses or on online meetings and stuff like that? Yes, Christiana, thank you.
I would say one thing that we some have forgot to pay attention to, and that many companies do look for, is basic etiquette. So I think people kind of think that because they're behind a screen that they can look more relaxed, maybe look less professional and do things that they normally would not do at the workplace. But what they're looking for people who still keep their composure even behind the screen. So you don't come in with, I don't know, only like no pants, or you're seen drinking or eating on screen, or I don't know, doing something else, maybe on your phone while people are talking, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Online soft skills. Sorry, people. Putting on your cameras. And of course, like Christiana has obviously said, is yeah, that etiquette, you know. And it's important, like, you know, looking at the screen and that sort of thing. And that's important to, I say, like when you're at work. And, you know, interestingly, when I teach, you know, I have students who will just send me an email, hey. I'm like, hey, who? How does good morning, good afternoon, and that sort of thing. And again, as a Black person, you are going to stand out. If you are that person who's like, hey, they're going to be like, she's so rude. They might ignore the white people. And so as a Black person, you need to make sure that you have that etiquette and you're like, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I was speaking with somebody yesterday, one of my clients, and she was telling me how she loves the Nigerians because Nigerians are so polite and so this and so that and so the other. So she, in her mind, would most likely, she wouldn't have a problem hiring a Nigerian because in her mind, they're extremely polite. And
I agree with you, Kathy. That whole, even in text messages, like there's such a lack of etiquette now. It's just, hey, like no good morning, no good evening. And, you know, I think we've moved that whole very relaxed way of doing things on text messages to emails as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah. And that's, sorry, Jemima said in the chat, understanding, empathy, like for people that don't have the same computer skills and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, understanding and empathy, correct. Yeah, yeah. And you're correct there, Carolyn. You're correct. And again, you are going to stand out. So you have to make sure that whatever you do, you are standing out for good and not for bad. The unfortunate reality is that as a Black person, you have to be on point as often as possible, if that makes sense. Yeah. So other things, interpersonal skills, relationship building skills, teamwork, collaboration, conflict resolution. So if there is a conflict, how are you going to resolve it? Are you going to exacerbate it? And just like Ike said, as a Black man, if you find yourself in a conflict, it might not be your fault at all, but you will be seen as, what's the word? Contentious, the problem. And so you have to really think about your conflict resolution skill. But it's not, that doesn't mean you are going to, like Lavi said, put your heart under your foot. You have to, you know, there is still, you can still have good conflict resolution skills without putting your heart under your foot and having people stamp all over you. Okay?
Yeah. I think on that point, one thing that I will advise is to, for us, myself also, is to learn how to master our feelings. We tend sometimes to be guided by the feelings. Feelings which is good. And I see that even in the church and everywhere, you know, people, they go more for the feelings, but not with the reason of it. They don't think. So we need to try to learn, master our feelings, because that in that time in a problem solving, if you are above your feelings, then you mastered whole the situation. So, and then you can go in a way that everybody will appreciate and will accept you. But if you follow your feelings, you might be not doing do a good job. Yeah.
100%. I couldn't agree more, Papa Ndembe. I couldn't agree more in that we face perhaps more challenges than the average folk. And so we are already walking into a room bruised. And so it can be difficult for us to separate our emotions from, let's say, in a conflict or so, you know, and you're absolutely correct in that we have to really try and take ourselves out of it, take our emotions out of it. And it's not easy. It really isn't easy, but it's a practice that if you keep practicing it over and over and over again, you'll be able to master it more and more and more. You have to be able to take yourself out of it, because if you're making decisions based on emotion, they are most likely not going to be optimal. So if you take the emotions and feelings out of it, you're more likely to make more practical, objective decisions and deal with the conflict in a more objective manner. So I agree with you, Papandemic, 100%. And so therefore, as we can see here, you know, at the heart of these soft skills is really how we work on our own and how we work with others. So working on our own is, okay, thinking out of the box. Like I said, there's no box, you know, being more creative, being problem solvers. And working others is all, you know, it's all about the, you know, teamwork and collaboration and that sort of thing. And so at the heart of that is all about communication. So let's unpack this communication a little bit. So how do we communicate? So here we have a bit of a chronological account of how we communicate. So traditionally it was these phone calls, letters, personal notes, okay? Baby boomers, phone calls, face-to-face, emails. Gen X.
We are here.
Gen X, voicemail, text, email. It doesn't mean, millennials, instant messaging, text, email. Gen Zs, FaceTime, text, face-to-face. It doesn't mean that we don't do personal notes anymore. It's just sort of looking at where the focus is in terms of communication. And I guess I'm trying to create some visuals as well for you. And so with that said, how do we communicate? We see all of these things here: phone calls, letters, personal notes, voicemails, text. But let's dig deeper. Dig deeper. How do we communicate? What is These are communication tools. What does communication actually involve? Our voice, we speak. So when we speak, we have our voice. So we have to so the content of what we're saying is important. Our tone.
Our tone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Shanna, do you want to do the lecture? Yeah, our tone is important. You know, and that you can have two people say the exact same thing, and one person's tone is off, and the delivery and what the other person receives is completely different. And your experience and feeling with that person is completely different. You know, you'll have some people say, I met her, I don't know what it is, I just don't like them. And oftentimes it may not be that what they're saying is wrong or is off or is offensive, but it's the other communication cues that they're picking up from that person. And we do that too sometimes. I don't know what it is, something's off. And so what else should we be mindful of as we communicate? So we have the voice, so we're looking at the tone. What else do we do when we communicate?
For me, it's always been, anyone who knows me here will agree, it's always been facial expressions. I can't hide what I'm thinking very well on my face. And yeah, that's something I've definitely had to work on in the work environment.
Facial expression.
Yes, Ashley is very guilty.
Yeah, everyone knows that about rolling my eyes, all that kind of stuff.
Well, you know, it's so interesting. I have it there: facial expressions, rolling eyes in my notes. Yeah, correct. Facial expressions, and I think with people, we're actually we kind of wear our feelings on our face.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Well, some more than others, of course, but yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Junior also added here in the chat, wording.
Wording. Yes, Junior, can you elaborate what you mean by wording?
Like
the different way people choose to say things. Like you can give, like, for example, like constructive criticism, right? Like you can say, maybe you should have done this, or then you can also, like, you know, scream at them and say, like, oh, why didn't you do this and this, you know, like just the way you say it.
Correct. Your words are also very, 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 very important. And you can add or take out one word that could make a difference completely to how the other person receives it. Yeah, wording is important. So your voice, the words that you actually use, your facial expressions, even your hand gestures, your posture. If, let's say, you're talking to your boss and you're like this, I mean, I do that in meetings, but that's because my boss and I are friends. But but if we weren't, you know, if you are in a serious meeting or whatever, and your posture is, you know what I mean? That's also important. If you're speaking with someone, and it's important, even we'll talk about that shortly, but even if you're having like online meetings, you don't look at the screen, you look directly at the camera. Because if you look at the screen, it would look like your attention is off. Mm-hmm. So if you just look directly at the camera, then it looks like, okay, I'm looking at you directly. And so, yeah, and so your posture, all these things go beyond what you say, right?
Okay.
I mean, yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a quick question here, see if anybody else is getting the similar vibe I'm feeling. So I've just had, I guess I've been fortunate to see these types of discussion happen in other kind of cultural groups. Like specifically for me, I've seen like Asian and Indigenous kind of communities discuss this. And something I'm noticing with the way we're talking about our communication style is, I want to ask the group, are we apologetic as Black people? Are we apologizing perhaps for our mannerisms and how we present ourselves and trying to fit kind of a norm here? Or is there a space for that, a cultural expression as well? I wanted to see what maybe the group thought about that, because in the Indigenous space, when I talk about this with the youth, they are very gung-ho, even about being late. They say, no, your culture has its own problems. You guys do your own thing. Us, we're late. It comes from a different context, a different understanding. You have to accept us. You know, they fight for their place, whether it's skills, whether it's a lot of things. They say, no, there's Indigenous ways of knowing that we bring to the table that you perhaps don't. And I wonder if us as a community, we have that same like spunk, that same like pizzazz, or maybe it comes across in different ways. Ashley's shaking her head at me right now, so maybe we can have a whole bunch of different perspectives.
That's a really, really good question. Yeah, Afo and then Christiana.
Yeah, like now that you're mentioning that, like I know I've definitely seen the aspect of people, like even in like Black community, even like being in Congo, where like, no, this is our way, this is how we do things, we're not going to do it like the others. But I also see like a lot how we always say we as Black, we have to work twice as hard for everything, and it's a lot. It comes down to a lot of like, we're trying to adapt and try to present it sort of properly to those in power. Mm-hmm. So like, there is a lot, we do that a lot of like trying to like mold ourselves to like fit whatever their model is, whatever their perspective is on how things should be done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Christiana, well, Alan. Oh, sorry, Papa.
No, I see the problem here. There, it is. I will say that we should not stand in that position that we are like. Yes, we're being treated that. I mean, it's good to acknowledge that that's the way we've been treated. Because if you don't see accept the problem, you won't give a right answer to the problem. Mm-hmm. So now that we've acknowledged that is the way how we should give a solution, I mean, mm-hmm. to the problem, is to remain in the state that we've been treated, or to come out of that the statement. And how then we come out is a very, very important aspect that the IC and the others that they are raising. But I will say this, that as much as we know that that's the way, we don't fight in, even when I hear that you have to work twice as much, as I think is also is depressive. I mean, it is giving a kind of, no. First, we accept ourselves, but we need also to know that we have a personality. But how then we get to know it is also to accept that others also they have personalities or the way of doing things. And we come to slowly by slowly, I think, as now, you used not to speak the language they speak now. I mean, their language. Now you are speaking their language. That means that you are also integrated in that culture where you can have a good discussion, understanding discussion, because the language was a barrier, I would say. But will I say it is still a barrier now? No. Now I think it is the way of thinking.
Papa Ndembe, I think,
yes?
no, we get your point really well, but I think in the chat here, like Lapi said, I think I might have opened a can of worms. There's a few people who are looking to respond, so maybe we'll do a quick round here to get all the responses in so that I don't hold up and catch you too long with your presentation. I feel bad, but I think we had Christiana who was gonna go next. We have Mama Carol, and then in the chat, I will add some of the chat things after they speak, and then hopefully we can move on. I do apologize.
No, it's a really good question.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Christiana. I think it's a very, very good question. And for me, the way I see it, I think it really depends on your perspective and really how you view the world, right? And what you deem as a priority. So for example, if your priority is, I want to maintain my culture, I don't want to assimilate, I don't want to integrate, irrespective, if that comes at the cost of, let's say, me having a job, blah, 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 go right ahead. If your perspective is, I don't care, all I want is a job, I want to succeed, I want to get up there, then you do whatever you need to do. But for me, I think it's somewhere in the middle. In the sense, I don't see why you need to give up a bit of yourself in order to get ahead. I mean, I can understand. I mean, even the other day, I was doing a proposal. It was a nonprofit, it was for a social community project. I also do economics. I was like, economics is not valid in this position. Let me take it out. When I'm doing economics, I know if they see too much social, they'll be like, okay, we need somebody who is an economics strong person. I take out the social. And so it's knowing, like Greg was saying, knowing what your cultural capital is and knowing when to use what, when, and where, as opposed to saying that I have to, let's say, have my heart under my feet, or as opposed to, you feeling that you have to give up some of yourself. Unfortunately, you may have to, in the sense that if you think, okay, as an African, we're late, and you have a job interview and you're late, you won't get it. It's just simple as that. And if you'd rather sort of maintain your Africanness and say, okay, well, being African, I don't think it is personally, but if that's a belief that you have, in every decision one makes, there are pros and cons. So being aware of what the pros and cons are and being able to accept what those cons are, then you're good. Yeah, sorry, Christiana, and then Carolyn.
I guess in response to Ike's question, I would say that from what I've seen, especially in Gen Z, we're definitely have that spunk, and sometimes to our own detriment. For example, I do sometimes see people who just lead too much of the heart at the expense of strategy and at the expense of being coachable, because they always come off as defensive. That's just what I've seen sometimes. And it's like we're quick to kind of be sensitive to any kind of reproach, and we come off as sometimes as being, okay, you're too reactive, you're too, you're just too much for us to handle sometimes. Like, I've definitely seen that. I think our generation is very much is more action-based rather than being like, more action oriented rather than being solution oriented. And so we're kind of quick to kind of talk back, quick to kind of take offense, quick to, be very reactive without thinking of, okay, well, what is the long-term goal, long-term solution, and what can actually be done about the problem without actually jumping at someone's throats. That's just what I've seen personally. Like, we have a spunk, but to our own detriment often, especially if you compare us to the Asian Canadian community, who's a lot more like thinking long-term and like more willing to kind of mold themselves into what they need to be for long-term success.
I think that's really interesting what you're saying there, in that we need to know what the long-term goal is. If your long-term goal is, I want to maintain my culture, I want to make sure that all Africans maintain their culture, then that's a road that you're traveling. If your long-term goal is, I have kids, I want my kids to be successful, blah, 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 da, 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 that's another road that you're traveling. It doesn't mean that the roads might not intersect, but everybody's journey is not the same. And we can't judge the other person's journey, because they need to do whatever they need to do for survival. Really, it is kind of all about survival and thriving. There was something I want to say, but I forgot. Carolyn.
Hey, I really like what Christiana had to say. I think that's very valuable. But what I wanted to say was, in terms of referring people properly. And what I mean by that, I'll give an example. When I was at the UFC, the UFC it's more of a very serious place. You're calling your professors doctor, whatever, and then I went to Ambrose. Okay, so not anymore, but before it was like that. And then you go to Ambrose and it's very personal. You're calling your professors by their first name. And so just understanding your audience and knowing and referring people properly is a skill to have in the workplace, because you could refer to someone in a manner that is detrimental to your job, to whatever you're doing. So just referring to people in the right way.
I like that, Carolyn. And you know what? Let's look at the Chinese. They maintain their culture. I mean, of course, this is a rule, but there are always going to be exceptions to the rule. So I don't want to say, well, I know a Chinese person who hasn't. But for the most part, they maintain their culture. They eat the Chinese food, etc., etc., etc. And if you have, I remember once I went to a healthcare place, and there was a Chinese manager. Everybody else in that healthcare place was Chinese. They hired, everybody else was Chinese. We as Black people, be like, oh, I don't want them to think that way. I don't want them to this. Like, okay, maybe I'll sprinkle in a couple of white people. Yeah. Whereas the Chinese people, like, they hide every person in there was Chinese. Yeah. You look at the let's say the Indians or the Pakistanis, for example. They live in multi generational homes. You have grandmother, and they respect them. The hierarchy is there. They maintain their culture. They eat their food. It's so funny. Like, like my friends and I always laugh at each other. When I go near them, like, oh, what did you eat for lunch today? And I'm like, what did you eat for lunch today? And that sort of thing. And so they maintain their culture. And of course, there is a degree of some sort of integration that needs to occur. And but I like Ike's question.
Can I get some points from the chat really quick before we move on? Yeah, so Jamima said, I 100% agree, but I also feel like that was more our parents' generation. I think our generation is trying to take back what was taken from our parents and relearn to put our foot down, if that makes sense. And I think this is I think it gives us like a broader spectrum to kind of work with here, because Christiana was in that space of like we react perhaps too much and maybe don't think long term. But this is a discussion I have with my dad when he questions our strategies as a generation. I go, but what did your generation do? You guys integrated yourselves. You went to school. You got all these doctorate degrees, but for what? Like there was a time when we pursued that, but I don't think it perhaps provided that change that we were hoping for. This is something, if you guys in the group were at the discussion we had on post-colonialism, and then we discussed, did we get integrated into a system that perhaps we shouldn't have gotten integrated in? So that can be a huge discussion moving forward. But I think it's good for us to definitely get all these perspectives down and hear definitely from different cultures and stuff. Ashley, I think you wanted to add something.
It's okay. I'll leave my point because I think it's kind of on the verge of not being. We kind of moved away from what we were talking about before, where I had my point. So it's okay.
But me personally, I wanted to add, like, what you're saying about the blackness thing is so true. I remember I worked at Bell, and like for some odd reason, everybody was black. You know, there was, and like it was Congolese, Haitian, like we were all black minus one white girl. And we had the store in the South. And so when people would walk in, they'd be shocked and they'd wait, okay, can somebody else come? And then the black person would keep coming from the back. We did this for maybe like 6 months until they had to do something about it. Like literally, they transferred people around. They did an investigation on us to see if we were giving away things, if we were selling things too much. They banned us from playing basketball on the TV because it said it wasn't culturally allowed. I'm like, but the white people watch hockey. Like, what's the difference? Oh, no. Basketball makes people feel uncomfortable. So I don't even know if Black people are at the space where we would feel comfortable to just take that ownership yet. It's still a little bit different for us.
Yeah, for me, I completely agree with you, which is what I was saying earlier, that we're going to stand out. The things, we will do exactly the same thing as a white person, but ours will be deemed as inappropriate. Mm-hmm. And so we have to be able to figure out what that line is that we're willing to walk. You know, I mean, for example, anywhere I go, when they say, "No, get to where you're from," and I give them my story from where I'm from, I'm Sierra Leone, I fled the war, blah, 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 and stuff like that. Even in my classes, when I start teaching, I'm from Sierra Leone, I fled the war, blah, 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 blah. And so your first encounter with me, if we're doing, let's say, like elaborate introductions, is always going to be, I'm from Sierra Leone. So you know straight away where I'm from. So there's no reason, well, there is some reason, but we have to hold on. We have to hold on to our culture because we have, you know, things we have to pass on to our kids, our nieces, our nephews, etc., etc. But then we have to make the decision as to how are we going to assimilate to a degree? How are we going to integrate? Because being late, it's not going to get you the job. It's not. and you'll probably get fired. And then you know what I mean? And so it is, whilst it's important to push back, but like Papa Ndema says, there's wisdom in Papa Ndema. Like there's a saying in Sierra Leone, I think it's a global saying, that says, that which an elder person can see sitting down, a young person can't see standing up. So there's a lot of wisdom in what Papa Ndema is saying, is that we have to take the emotion out of it. Because if we take the emotion out of it, then we're able to navigate clearer, as opposed to when we function with our emotion at the forefront of our decision making. And we have to do it with an empowered perspective, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, any last thoughts? I'm really curious to hear what Ashley had to say. I'm sorry, Ashley.
I had like two quick things to say. Like for me, before I married Ike, like my last name was Kay Sparks. And so people, you know, I handed my resume and they wouldn't know I was Black until I showed up. And it was always a thing of like, they physically, or like, you know, you could see them being taken aback or being shocked. But I found that it actually worked in my favor in a way, because it was like they're hiring the Black girl, but the Black girl who's like grew up here and is like pretty whitenized, you know what I mean? So like, it was always kind of like, oh, good, this is the Black girl that we want to hire because she doesn't have an accent.
Not a Black girl.
Yeah. And then I was gonna say, my friend at work, she got into they were talking, I don't know how the conversation came up, but they were talking about bears somehow. And her boss, like she's Black, obviously, and she's talking to all of her white colleagues, her boss who's white. And her boss called her like oh no, the Black bears, like they're talking about bears, I don't know. Black bears are the most vicious bears. Evelyn, you're like a Black bear. And like, Yeah, like, and then she like, you know, for me, I wanted to react right away. I was like, go to the manager, like, go, like, do all this stuff. And she's like, no, like, I don't want to, like, rile everything up. And I'm like, no, this is really not okay. Like, they're like, and then she tried to, like, cover it up by saying, oh, no, you're just, like, a mama bear, you know, you just take care of your kids, and you just, like, all this kind of stuff to, like, cover it up. But it was really, like, not okay. And, like, but, like, going back to Christiana's point, like, she felt like, you know, is this, if I react like this, is this really going to be better for me in the long run? Even though it wasn't a fair thing, you know, there's something that, like, she chose to consider. Me, I would have, like, gone and light the place on fire, but that's just me.
But it's I mean, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but it's a real issue that we face. And it's a real dilemma that we face, in that if you have confidence in the system, you will have confidence that if I go and report, something will be done about it.
Mm-hmm.
And but if you don't have confidence in the system, and you have a mortgage to pay, you have school fees, you have this, you have that, you have the other, you're like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it takes a lot of bravery, you know, and so I commend people who can and who do that. And it's important to do that. And the question is always how.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't necessarily a right or wrong way to do it. I mean, which is why I'm so looking forward to our session on advocacy, because that's going to talk to us about how we can advocate for ourselves. What are the different ways in which we can advocate for ourselves, and not just sit back and take it because you're scared of losing your job. Mm-hmm. Because we have to be able to advocate, because if you don't advocate, then the system will remain broken and it won't change. But of course, our priority oftentimes is number one. Your priority is your shelter, your basic needs, your house, you know what I mean? And so if you feel that some action you're going to take will be at the expense of your basic needs, not everybody will take that action, which is why we need to know how to effectively advocate for ourselves, so that it's not one or the other. And oftentimes it's not one or the other. Okay. And so there was something I was going to say. And one thing we also have to consider is that the many ways to skin a cat. Advocacy, you know, we have to know how to advocate for ourselves, but it's also important to get in the door.
Yes.
It's important to get your foot in the door. I'm also really looking forward to your session with Sam, who is the VP at BMO. And he will tell you about his experience. You know, and you can ask him, did you face this? Did you face that? How'd you do this? How'd you deal with that? And he'll be able to tell you how he has navigated that. And so now he can stand, and guess what? What he says right now goes. But when he started off as just, let's say, a teller, no one would listen to him. No, not that I'm saying you don't do anything, you know, at your level, but it's important to also see, like Christian saying, the bigger picture. Right now, whatever Sam says goes. Everybody listens to him. He has a project that he wants to do, a Black project, you know, that supports Black youth. It goes. And so it's important to also think, you know, and we cannot all think in exactly the same way. Some people are sort of future minded and they will think long term. Other people are like, well, we need to deal with it right now. And we need soldiers at every step of the way. You can't have soldiers all focused long in the future. Soldiers all focused right now. We need soldiers at every step of the battle. And so wherever you feel that your battle is, you fight. Wherever you, and that's it. As opposed to saying, well, you didn't do this, or you did. Maybe that person has a different goal. And so, yeah, okay, moving on. I'm gonna have to cram everything in now and maybe do some shortcuts, but I think this was a very, very important decision. I think it was a really important decision. So, okay, let me take a swig of my tea. Sorry, Christiana, I know you said we shouldn't be drinking. My apologies.
Why?
Okay, so soft skills, of course, are something that can be gained daily in everything that we do. You can develop your communication and soft skills by interacting with people. Volunteering is an important way to sort of gain your soft skills, because it allows you to interact with people. You know, joining extracurricular clubs. You can also learn from a mentor. you know, or take some online courses, and all of these opportunities where you can make connections with others and practice. Okay. Okay. Now, career skills and professional development. I think this is related now to what one of the clansmen said. I think it was Afo, the Kenzo clan. I think it was Afo. And so career skills, professional development. This requires that we join a professional association to learn skills and network with the people in your industry. So if you want to go into pretty much any field right now, has some sort of professional organization that you can join. So join a professional association or network. One of the most valuable things you can do is join one of those, because most professions will have one, including associations, let's say, that oversee the certification of a licensed profession. It might be something like engineering or nursing, or a professional group that brings people from the same industry that may be unlicensed. It might be things like marketing together so that you can network. And that cross professions are instead, let's say, based on sectors, skills, gender, age, etc. So pretty much any vocation that you want to take on, whether it is in finance, business, accounting, social work, psychology, coaching, there is some sort of membership organization that you can join. And the good thing about it is you benefit from insider information. You can get people from your industry information that is really, really valuable. You can access career opportunities that if you weren't in that association, you would know nothing about. You can use that to gain mentors. So if you want to be a psychologist and you're in a psychology association, it's going to comprise of people who are entering the field as well as people who are established in the field. It's incumbent on you now to be like, I see Dr. So-and-so who has his psychology practice. That's what I want. I'm going to approach him to be my mentor. And that's going to be that person who's going to help you to open doors. It'll give you updates in the field, the online events. And there you can develop your network of friends. And you can have that information that other people don't. Yeah. Volunteer opportunities, again, these, I cannot stress on how much it is. And I know that people in general tend not to like volunteer opportunities. Like, come on, I have a degree. I mean, I remember when I even had my degree, I was like, I'm not going to volunteer. What am I volunteering for? I have my degree now. Now I should be paid. You know, even when I got a master's, like, now I should be paid. Right now, I would say maybe a quarter of my time in a week is spent on volunteer stuff. And it's through those volunteering opportunities that you meet people in a non-employment academic sphere. They get to see the real you. You get to interact without the pressure of saying, oh my goodness, this is a job interview or something. And you get to show them your soft skills. You're dependable, you're trustworthy, you're responsible. So that when an opportunity comes, they're more likely to bring you along because they know you. When you present your CV and your cover letter, you are just a number. You are just a thing. Nobody knows. People lie on CVs and cover letters all the time. And they, you know what I mean? You have 1 year experience, you stretch it to 2. You have 6 months, you stretch it to 1 year, and that sort of thing. So if you are developing these relationships and people have experience of how you work, they would rather choose you because they know you, you're dependable, they know you know your stuff. And even if you don't know your stuff, they know you're willing to learn. They're more likely to bring you on board than this person that looks magnificent in a CV and cover letter. So yeah, volunteer opportunities, join social groups. Toastmasters, has anybody heard of Toastmasters? So Toastmasters is like a social group that is tailored around helping people to develop their speaking, presentation skills. So if you're someone who is, let's say, shy, and you know that we've already established communication is important, you need to be able to communicate. Join something like Toastmasters for young people. And there's Toastmasters usually for adults who, let's say, people who are, but let's just say professionals, right? And who want to learn speaking, engagement, blah, 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 how to speak, how to present, how to look more confident, how to have gravitas when you walk into the room. So it's like, as a Black person, you want to walk into the room and not for people to be like, oh, there's a Black person, but for you to walk in and you have this aura about you, you have this gravitas that people are drawn towards you. They're like, I want to know who this person is. You know, they just look so confident and they know their stuff. And something like Toastmasters is something that can help you as a young person. And it's also a great networking tool. Rotary, has anybody heard of Rotary? Is anything in the chat, Ike?
I don't think we got anything in the chat, but I was going to say that Rotary was one of our first sponsors. Like we started with like one drum, and they gave us our first a little grant to buy different things.
Yeah. Rotary is, thank you, Ike, is all about social projects, but it's also about networking. You tend to find a lot of the movers and shakers in your city will probably be Rotarians. And there are groups like Rotaract, Interact, which are the younger versions of Rotary. And I think maybe there's a membership of like $80 a year or 20 or $50 a year or something like that. And there you get to work on community projects and you get connected to the Rotary, the bigger Rotarians and things like that. And that's building your social capital. So that when you want to enter doors, you're just like, hey, my mentor at Rotary, do you know so and so? Sure. And if you join any of these things, Toastmasters, Rotary, put it in your CV, you'll be surprised who in that organization is a member. And because these organizations stand for, have certain values associated with them, if I'm a Rotarian, right? If I see someone put something in their CV that they're Rotarian, I'm more likely to hire them because I'm sure, because I know they have the values of a Rotarian. And so they have a 4-way test. Hold on, let me just do a quick Google of it. 1 second. Any thoughts whilst I'm talking? Any questions? Okay, no worries. So the Rotary 4-way test, for example, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better relationships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? So if I see someone that says they're a Rotaract or an Interact, I'm more likely to, and I was hiring, I'm more likely to hire them because I know they stand for those values. And these opportunities for you, and in these, they have speaker series, leadership series, they'll talk about strategy, this, that, all sorts of opportunities, you know, in terms of speakers, all sorts of opportunities to work on community projects. And it is a place to network. And you can also explore things like Calgary Black Chambers. They have a mentorship component. For example, I was in a meeting I was part of a conference and I was like hosting the conference and John Cornish, who is right here. Can you see my cursor? Mm-hmm. This one. So John Cornish, I think he used to be a footballer or something like that, right? Anyway, he used to be.
Yeah, he's a big time Calgary stand here. He like had a bunch of records and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So he used to be I don't even know if it's football or what, but anyway, he used to be a popular athlete, and now he's transformed himself into a wealth management specialist, and he was also one of the founders of the Black Chambers. So before the conference, we met, and I was like, "How did you make this transformation?" And he said, "Mentor." He said, "I had a mentor who." Because you're like, how do you move from football to wealth management? Like, it just seems like so different, right? He said, I had a mentor. And that mentor was able to say to him, John, do A, B, C, don't do F, don't do G, but do Z. Whereas if you don't have a mentor, you'll be A, B, C, and you can do a zigzag, whereas a mentor would just be like, just tell you, do. And so, connect with Toastmasters, Rotary, Black Chambers. Like if anybody's interested in Rotary or Black Chambers, I'm happy to sort of connect you with a Rotaract club or an Interact club, or connect you with Black Chambers because they have a really good mentorship component. I don't know anybody. I don't know Toastmasters, but so these are opportunities for professional development and for you to network and for you to get out there and for people to know that you exist and for you to get your foot in the door. Once you get your foot in the door, you can then begin to rise. If your foot isn't in the door, you cannot rise. And remember we said yes the last time in that you need to have the right people in your boat. Any questions? And then the last one is Black North Initiative. So that's a new initiative that started, I think, following the death of the killing of George Floyd last year. And it was set up by a Black Jamaican in Toronto. And so we just opened up an Alberta chapter, and they're looking at some youth projects and things like that. So I will probably be sending you stuff or sending Ike and Ashley stuff. So keep an eye out, for stuff like that. But yeah, so join social groups. And it doesn't have to be a social group that is dominated by white people. They're Black social groups. And if you want to have a bit of both, have a bit of both. It's all about building your capital. What else? And of course, there are courses that you can take. Any questions? I'm kind of asking with hesitation. But does that make sense? Like, give me a thumbs up.
Let's try to get more people on camera. I know that a few of you, but Laurent, we saw you come in, Felicia, Junior, Cristiano, Pamela. Oh, Pam's there. Okay, we're good. We want to see you guys.
Hello, baby.
Oh,
hi. Oh, he's smiling. Oh, I love kids. So yeah, back to that mentor phase. Finding a mentor is really a key strategy for achieving professional success in Canada. So through mentorship, you can really gain first-hand knowledge of best practices and industry information. And yeah, what is your understanding of a mentor? I think I kind of gave you part of the answer, but that's okay. You guys have always surprised me in terms of the wonderful stuff you come up with. What is your understanding of a mentor?
Let's go, Laurent. Laurent, I don't think we heard you much today.
Like a mentor in general, like what is it?
Yeah.
Oh, so when I think a mentor is like someone who had experience back then and can like teach you like what he or she knows, like what to like understand. And yeah, that's what I think a mentor is. It's basically someone who had experience back then and can teach you like the ways to get better at something that he or she learned back then. And yeah, that's what I think the mentor is.
Yeah.
Good answer. Maybe let's get an answer from, I think Vince spoke, but Junior, I don't think we heard from you today. How could you add to what Laurent was saying?
Yeah, a mentor for me, someone who guides you and shows you the right way to do things, like there's different mentors for different things, Good
point.
Mentors, even we're talking about job aspects, the ones that can show you, maybe if you never had a job, they show you the process, they help you build your resume and that sort of thing.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Look at these pictures here. What does it say anything to you? What do you understand? I mean, they're pretty obvious, but I guess I just want engagement, I guess. Yeah, but how does it resonate for you, any of these pictures?
I feel like it's like for that one in the bottom right, it's like he's basically growing the plant, so he's watering the plant. So that's basically them, the plant being your brain, and they're kind of showing you and gaining knowledge from it. So
yeah, that's great, JR. He's watering into you, he's pouring into you, so that you or we as an individual can grow and develop and be a better version of ourselves. Yeah. Anybody else? Any of the pictures?
I think the top right one. it shows like someone lifting someone up to their level. So it's just like they say implementing like their knowledge onto someone else, and showing them the path, like come here, like so they can get to the level that they're at.
Correct. And that could look like opening doors, standing in front of you, right? So if there are blows coming, they're taking the blows and not you, and opening the path for you, making referrals. I have a wonderful mentor who mentor, like Rotary is like huge in Africa. It's huge, it's massive, because obviously they do so many community projects and things like that. And I was recommended by someone in Calgary who acted as my mentor in Rotary. And for me, the value that he brings for me, I've said this, it's almost like he is the umbrella. And he is like, it's raining and I don't feel any of the rain, because he is like shielding me from all of the crap that's going on within the club. So I have people say, oh, the club is bureaucratic, the club is this, the club is that. I don't experience any of that. Because when I say, hey, I want to do this, it's like, okay, when, how, where, how can I help you? That's a mentor. Someone that will be like, how can I support you? What do you need? And that sort of thing. So they help you, they help clear the road for you, and they help to elevate you from where you are. Someone that says, you can do this, don't give up, almost that, right? And who has a mentor outside of SOS Congo? Because I know Ike, Ashley, and Carolyn, Papa, and Dembe, and Lavi is everybody's mentor. But outside of SOS Congo, do you have a mentor? Okay, Pamela, you're nodding. Tell me about your mentor.
He's like a Bible study mentor, because I have a really hard time reading the Bible or like knowing how to interpret it. So he's more of like a spiritual guide, I guess, because I need that.
That's it. You can have mentors for different things. I like that. You can have your spiritual or religious mentor. You can have your professional mentor. You can even have a few for each. You can have your personal mentor, someone who is just there to just support you through life, whether it's career, whether it's this, whether it's that, whether the other. And if you happen, and I spoke with somebody a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, I would prefer a Black mentor, somebody who has had a similar experience to myself. And I said, yeah, correct. But is that the only mentor you should have? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. And who says you can only have one mentor? Right? So you can have basically your mentor or mentors are people you will want to be like in the future. So whether it's that spiritual person, does that spiritual person need to be Black? Maybe, maybe not. Does your professional mentor need to be Black? Maybe, maybe not. You have to make the decision. I'm not saying they should be. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm saying you have to make the decision. Does your vocation mentor have to, that sort of thing. So building your village. And remember, I gave the example of the canoe, where in which you want the right people in the canoe. Everyone's riding in the same, everyone is in the canoe and riding in the same direction, and are motivating you to get to your destination. That is what is important. But what would you say the benefits of having a mentor or mentors? I think we've mentioned some already, so throw them at me.
Not repeating the same mistakes, or getting a quicker path to success.
Yeah, not making the same mistakes. Your mentor probably, if he is somebody that you aspire to be like, whether it's spiritually, vocation, personally, whatever, he has likely made mistakes along the way. And so that person is there to say, Ike, rethink that move. Ike, or Nkedi, or Lavi, or Afo, or Tutu, Christiana, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, Ike, what else?
we have Christiana here saying not having to navigate unfamiliar grounds blindly. That's in the chat.
Yeah.
And I think sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, that's correct. Not having to navigate unfamiliar grounds blindly and alone. In the sense, they can be the people that will actually help to open doors and be like, okay, Christiana, you can go.
Yeah, and then Pamela here saying, if you want to be a mentor, if you want to be a mentor yourself, you can learn leadership skills from your mentor. For example, how to deal with things, how to talk to people. That's great. Tutu Nafo, how about you praise me? I'm a pretty great mentor. Tell them all the great ways I mentor. I'm kidding. Let's go maybe for Felicia. Let's grab Felicia's opinion and perspective here. We haven't heard too much of you.
Welcome.
I think I'm more of Afo's mentor than you are.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I definitely think mentors are good. I have people that I go to help me even navigate like my career, and like there's some job opportunities again that's happening at my work. So I've talked to some people to kind of ask them what their opinion is or what they think. So it's good. It's like you don't know everything, and it takes a village to raise people up, right? So I just think that mentors are just great so that you can get a second opinion, and especially if someone who's been there, someone who's gone through it, they have the knowledge and they can even share with you their processes, or so you don't make mistakes maybe that they have made. So yeah.
Absolutely. I love that, Felicia. I love that, because for as long as we are human, we are bound to make mistakes. And sometimes we'll make them at work. And if you don't have mentors, you're not quite sure what the best way is to navigate. Whereas a mentor or mentors will be like, okay, fine, yes, you made that mistake. To err is human. But now how do we correct? How do we fix it? How do we move forward? What's that course correction? And sometimes when you've made that mistake, you are so engrossed in that feeling and stress and fear and frustration. You need the mentor sometimes to be like, okay, relax. It's okay. I made this mistake. My mistake was even worse. Look at me now. This is what I suggest that you do. But it doesn't mean that you have to take everything they say to a T, but this is why it's important for you to choose the right mentor. Just like that boat, you need the right person in your boat. And a mentor, can really help foster understanding of your field, where you're working, the context of the profession, the workplace culture, that Papa Ndembe, La Vie, and Ike were talking about, which young people, specifically those from diverse countries and backgrounds, may not be familiar with. So this knowledge is really a critical step on the road to career success. Mentoring can also help expand one's professional network, in that if you have a mentor, they're invested in you, they want to see you grow. And so if you needed something, yes, a connection, they should be. So doesn't mean they all will be. So you have to be careful who you choose, but they should be okay with facilitating connections for you. And so to facilitate this type of benefit, it really requires intentional nurturing, and you need to make sure you have the right persons mentoring you. So what do you look for in your mentor? What are the important characteristics you look for in your mentor? Because if you want this perfect ideal of a mentor, and bearing in mind your mentor is also human, so they may make mistakes too, they may piss you off, they may say something you don't like, okay? But what are you looking for in a mentor, and what are the characteristics? What are characteristics you're looking for in a mentor? Because it's important to know that, because if you know what you're looking for, you'll know when you found it, as opposed to just looking for anybody. La Vie, are you trying to say something?
Availability, the mentor need to be available, need to be honest with me, should not be a cheerleader. Those two.
Yeah, availability, honesty, but also a cheerleader. Oh, I love it. Absolutely. You don't want a mentor that's going to be like, oh, I can see you once every 3 months.
And Felicia's in the chat. Felicia said experience.
Experience, yeah. And honesty, you want somebody who is going to be honest with you. They're not just going to, like my dad says, blow smoke up your ass, excuse my French. They're going to be honest with you. They're going to keep you accountable, but they're also your cheerleader. You can be honest and be someone's cheerleader at the same time. And Felicia said experience. Yeah. You need somebody who has experience in the direction in which you want to go. So if it's a spiritual mentor, they have experience in that. You're not going to find, there is such a thing as peer-to-peer mentorship, but here we're not talking about peer-to-peer mentorship. If you're looking for that mentorship that's going to do these three things in this picture, you need somebody who has experience. So if you want to grow spiritually, you're going to find someone who you feel, everybody has room for growth, but at least is at a higher spirituality than you. Not that you know necessarily, but you assume, I guess, based on, let's say, the role they play and that sort of thing. So yeah, thanks, Felicia. That's a great one. Experience.
Christiana has her hand up.
Yeah, Christiana.
I was going to add someone with a growth mindset as opposed to a mindset of lack or a fixed mindset.
Ooh, yes, yes, I love that. You need somebody who has a growth mindset, who is going to push you to be better than where you are, as opposed to someone who's going to yes, the world is crap, yes, everything is wrong with the world, this is just how it is, hang in there. You want someone who is going to say, yes, this is happening, yes, this is true. What is, you have the control to respond. You have the ability to choose how you respond. How are you going to respond, and how are you going to grow beyond this point? Love it. One more.
A listener.
A listener. Yeah, absolutely. A listener. Correct. And how do you, thank you, Papa Demon. And so now that we kind of have a good idea in terms of what we're looking for in a mentor, how do we ensure that we get the most out of these mentorship relationships? We're likely going to go over a little bit, so I hope you don't have to go, but please stay if you can. Please stay, because it's really cool, but I won't take it too far beyond the 12 o'clock. But yeah, so how do you ensure that you get the most out of your mentorship relationship?
Jemima has her hand up.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Hi, Jemima, go ahead.
So I was just gonna say that in order for it to actually work, you'd have to put in I feel like you'd have to put in most of the work.
You have to do most of the work, you say?
Yeah, basically. Because if you're not being honest with yourself and being honest with what you're doing on your side, and you're not understanding what you're doing or how you're going about things, and you can't voice that to your mentor, then nothing's gonna work. They're professionals and stuff like that, but if you can't know the right and wrongs and what you're doing in your plan and stuff like that, then it's not gonna work. So that's why I'm saying that in order for you to get the most out of it, you have to basically put in all of the work to better yourself, because at the end of the day, you know yourself better than anyone else.
Absolutely. You have to put in the work. It's not just down to the mentor. It's a symbiotic relationship. You have to put in the work too. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? How do you ensure that you get the most out of your mentorship relationship or ships?
Can I emphasize on one of the things Jemima just spoke about, which is knowing I'll put it that way, know what you want from the mentor. Because the mentor is not going to come to dictate to you, this is what I know, and you should take it. No, he is coming to answer to your needs, address your needs. So knowing what you want and address it clearly with the mentor gives him the platform and the authority to bequeath to you what they know. For example, I've been studying cybersecurity for a few months now, not that technical. So I had this friend of mine who's a doctor in cybersecurity. He teaches also in a few universities in Africa, but he's here. So he's been visiting me. He offered himself to mentor me, but I did not really get the most of what he was teaching me, because he was giving me what he thought I knew. I had to formulate clearly, this is what I want. I don't need theories. I want to be technical because I'm not. So let me do a calendar, and the themes or whatever we'll be talking about. Okay, that's good. I drew a calendar, and my needs. Based on that, he was giving me really what I wanted. When we meet already, we know what we'll be talking about. Okay, there's no theory here. There's no theories today. Open your laptop, download this program, install it. This is how you use it. He demonstrates few examples. Okay, you act on it. I work on it for 3 weeks. We'll get back. I'll come and assess. And that's what we'll be working with him. So knowing what you want, voice it out will give your mentor the authority to be with you what they know also.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You need to know what you want. You need to absolutely know what you want from that mentor. Do you want them to make referrals? Do you want them to coach you? Do you want them to invite you to events? Mm-hmm. You want them to, let's say, look for volunteering opportunities? You want them to look for a job? It might be all of that. But you tell him, because if he doesn't know, he can't help you. So it might be all of those things. You're like, hey, I want it all. And if you want it all, you let him know you want it all. Absolutely. But you also have to be open to new ideas, because if the mentor of somebody that, let's say, is where you want to be, he may have ideas about things that you don't, that things, like I like this saying, sometimes you don't even know what you don't know. And if you don't know what you don't know, then there has to be some openness as well to sort of to him or hers or theirs new idea. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Last one. Oh. Last one. How do you ensure that you are getting the most out of your relationship, your mentorship relationship? There's one thing I'm looking for that hasn't been said yet. Mutualism. It has to be a give and take relationship. So if you have a mentor who is doing all of the pouring, fine, you may not be able to pour back, but what can you do to give back? There has to be a reciprocal benefit. Yes, you may have a mentor who he just enjoys seeing you grow. Yeah, he may absolutely enjoy seeing, and that in itself is enough. But we as human beings, human nature, we also like to be shown appreciation somehow. We also like relationships to be reciprocal. And it's more likely that your relationship will be long-term if it's reciprocal. As opposed to, okay, I'm going to mentor this person for 1 year or 6 months. If it's reciprocal, it can last years. It can last decades. And if you build roots with that person will root for you in a way that you would be like, well, damn, even my family members don't even root for me in this way. So it has to be reciprocal. I'll give you an example. So one of my mentors, for example, every time there's an occasion, not occasion, like something happened in the calendar, Christmas, Easter. And that's the interesting thing. Easter, I made them a big, massive pot of Sierra Leonean food, couscous, lamb, this, that, like 5 different bowls I made like for 3 of my mentors, and I went to deliver it. They're like, oh, Sierra Leonean food is so delicious. Da, 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 da. It didn't really take much out of me, but they appreciate it. And he has a business. His business is doing okay. But I found for him 3 volunteers, interestingly, Lavi from Siwa, who worked on his reconciliations. That saved him thousands of dollars. He had 3 volunteers over a period of 4 months. It took nothing out of me. It was just a phone call and interviews, 4 hours of my time. Saved him thousands of dollars. So to maintain that reciprocal relationship, you also have to think about what can you do for that mentor. Some people are like, oh, he has everything, he knows everything. There's no, doesn't matter. Even if it's a birthday card, a Christmas card, but it has to be reciprocal for it to last. Anybody disagree or thinking, yeah, I don't think so?
I absolutely agree with you, Kathy. I think that's where a lot of mentorships die, because it's always, some people approach mentorship as what can I get out of this? And it's always about what you can get out of it and not what you can also give the other person. If you're not able to give the other person anything at all, it's very difficult to maintain that relationship when you just come to get.
Exactly. And it can get so exhausting. And guess what? For somebody who you may think he has everything or she has everything or they or that have everything, but that one token, he will remember that. Sorry, Papa Ndembe.
I agree.
No, I would say it is a very, very wise, advice that you have given there. And that's, to me, I will say that this, it will take, the person will take you really serious, and then also is, it expresses a lot, because like doing this with medical fund, one time did that, and the way you were just something very small, but it was thoughtful to the point that she got an encouragement to do what she's doing, and also takes you serious. That you are somebody can be responsible. It expresses that you are responsible to the other side. It doesn't matter what you but that gesture is very, very important.
Yeah.
And it shows that, Kathy, I think it'd be useful to maybe give some ideas some general ideas of things to do, because I do it, especially when you're not as experienced and you're working with a mentor who is you tend to feel like you have nothing to give. And so I think it's nice to give some ideas of, yes, you do have something to give. And these are some of the ideas of what you can give. Because I think a lot of people get stumped on that, and they think, no, I have nothing. I am not that experienced. I don't have much to offer this person. And that's a detriment. And so just having ideas for people like, oh, you could do this, you could do that, would be very helpful.
Yeah, I have I'll give you examples of some stuff I've done, but then I think I'll throw it out there as well, just for you all to sort of say, well, how else do you think you could sort of give back to the mentor? So for me, like when I first moved to Calgary, I used to work at MAC, okay? And so we used to like get a whole bunch of free lipsticks and stuff like that. And I have a mentor who's a woman, and every time I'd get given a free MAC product, I'll find something, they'll be like, okay, MAC, for the men out there, that's sexist, but okay, doesn't matter. But for the men out there, like MAC has, different shades for light, dark, blah, blah, blah. So I will always choose the free item that was closest to her shade or her skin tone. And I would take it, package it, and give it to her and say, thank you so much for being a great mentor. It didn't cost me a dime. But guess what? When she looks on the MAC website, that thing was $50. That lipstick is $20, right? And so there are ways in which you can be creative, and I also like I say, I cook, during like different special events, Christmas, this is that, I send it to them. There's that, the CWA volunteers, where I found 3 volunteers for my mentor's organization. He ended up hiring one of them to a full-time senior accountant position. So he's like, she values this relationship. Because I found
you must be a good cook.
I don't know.
Can I invite myself?
Sure. When the pandemic is over, I think we should all have something. I definitely agree with you, Papa Ndembe, for sure. Yeah. And what else do I do? What else? And also I do like little notes. Like I'll just send random emails. I'll be like, thank you so much. Some people are like, stop brown nosing. You're not brown nosing. If someone has supported you, and they have helped you and opened doors for you, you have to reciprocate. You know, Telanos, thank you so much for being a great mentor. I really appreciate our relationship. My mentors have given me opportunities, jobs. They have given me references. There are times when I have proposals, they'll be like, run that proposal by me. Let me look at it. They'll give me feedback. They'll say, do a presentation. They'll give me feedback. You know, things that money can't buy. And so I'll turn it out there to you. What else, how else do you think that you can support, well, give back to your mentor? What skill do you have? Are you, I don't know, are you an artist? You know, I see these arts being done on Instagram when somebody will just grab some clay and do some circles and spray it. And it looks wonderful. It takes like 20 minutes to do. Are you an artist? Do some arts and give it to them. They would probably pay hundreds of dollars for it, but you probably cost you $5 to buy the clay, the gold spray, and the spatula to create something. So yeah, how else can you give back to your mentor? And then I'll try and whiz through the rest of the stuff.
I think even giving your time, being able to, if your mentor has a project that they told you about they're working on, you can be able to give your time to even volunteering yourself to do some of the work. And it not only does it help them, but it also helps you to refine your skills.
Absolutely. I don't think there is a being on this world that wouldn't want free help. Everybody likes free. And so give of yourself and say, hey, these are my skills. I notice you're doing a project and so. Can I assist you? And don't say, how can I assist you? Make recommendations as to how you can assist and what value you can add.
To piggyback off what Carol was saying, maybe to say, like, you become a mentor yourself, like, was that added already to the group? Like, pass it forward, like find somebody else, get the information that was like imparted onto you, and then you give it to somebody else.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's it. Become a mentor yourself, and you're not too young to be mentors. There are people who might be 12, 9, 8. You're not too young to be mentors.
And we're trying to stand up our mentorship program, guys. So definitely soak this all up. We're going to be having our mentorship meeting starting soon.
Yeah, yeah. And so when it comes to like choosing that mentor, look for someone who's going to motivate you, someone who's going to provide advice, someone who's going to help you to be successful, someone who's going to provide direction, someone who's going to provide coaching, support, you know, training, and help you work towards your goal. And you have to commit to each other. It's not just them committing to you. You have to commit to each other. Develop trust. Plan your goals. Roles and responsibilities. Collaborate results. For me, before I see my mentor, I send him an agenda beforehand, so he knows what we're going to be talking about. And there are a few projects he has me working on. I give him an update on my projects. It's incumbent on you to say, hey, I'd like to meet with you every 2 weeks. You set up your meetings every 2 weeks, you know, in the calendar, so you don't have to remind you. He doesn't have to remind you, hey, I've not seen you in a couple of months. What's going on? No. You set those calendar invites. You have your, you know, and you really commit to each other and prioritize it. But that's when you found a good one or good ones. So which is why you have to be cautious and careful about who you choose, because you're going to be investing in each other's lives. Okay, so mentor-specific skills. So things like instructing, developing capabilities, inspiring, providing corrective feedback, managing risks, which I think Ike spoke about. Ike, it's so funny. I keep saying, because you have SOS signed in, I keep wanting to say SOS Congo. Managing risks, so these are the mistakes and things like that. Opening doors. Mentee-specific skills, acquiring mentors, learning quickly, showing initiative, following through. Oh, If you say you're going to do it, you do it. If you can't do it, you let him or her know before the deadline. Say, hey, I know I've committed to this, but unfortunately this has come up. I'm going to, please give me another 3 days or another 1 week and I'll have it completed. Thanks for your understanding. Most people will be like, fine, sure. But if they're expecting it, they've allocated time, let's say, to read it or to listen to you, and then you just don't show up. I had to terminate a mentorship relationship I had when someone missed our meetings twice and didn't even have the courtesy to tell me. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm too busy. And yeah, so following through, managing the relationship. And then for both parties, listening actively, building trust, encouraging and identifying goals and current reality. Okay. Future-proof your skills. So sought after technological and transferable skills that will keep you competitive. This is back to Lavie's point, which is really looking at what do you think the future is going to need? Or how can I make sure that whatever decision I make, I'm future-proofing it, if that makes sense. And we all know technology, AI, and all that good stuff, you know, see how you can incorporate it. And it's being incorporated everywhere. Everything is becoming smart. Smart water bottle, smart lamp. Everything is smart. You know, you see even within the medical profession, you have all these machines and things like that. Nobody's saying you should go and invent a machine unless you're an inventor, but have some understanding of what the different approaches are and the new different systems and the new different things, so that as technology is advancing, it's not leaving you behind. And be innovative and flexible in the sense that, yeah, be innovative. There's no box. You're flexible. If in the event you find that your career is, let's say, not in demand or is not as well sought after as it used to be, you have to be flexible to be say, well, maybe I need to do a few more courses, or maybe I need to do this. And like I said earlier, gone are the days where if you want to do marketing, you have to do a whole degree or a whole certificate in marketing. Now you can go do 1 course, 2 courses. If you want to specify, let's say, search engine optimization, you do a course in search engine optimization and that's it. You're good to go. Tech savvy, willingness to reskill and upskill, and deep work. What do you understand by deep work? So deep work is actually the name of a book that I'm currently reading. It's by Cal Newport. If you have time, read it. He talks about designating time every single day for focused, uninterrupted work. Many of us, we're doing work. LinkedIn is in the background. Instagram is in the background. The notifications are coming in on my computer, my phone. You know, you're sort of checking as you're writing, you're checking as you're doing, you're checking, and you are distracted the whole day, all day long. Your emails are coming through, you know, and that sort of thing. So deep work is turning everything off. If you don't reply to someone for 3-4 hours, I doubt it will be catastrophic. Turning everything off and focusing, concentrated time for 3-4 work to hone in on your skill, because you can find yourself spending 3-4 hours a day checking your emails and doing all sorts of stuff. But if you designated 3-4 hours a day, let's say to something like writing a book, you could be done in 3 months. But if you don't, you won't write that book. And so really doing deep work to hone in your skills. So if you want to be a psychologist, you spend time to understand I don't know what psychologists do, but let's say, you know, to understand what the skills are, what the approaches are, what the best practices, so that you become the best person in that field. So it becomes completely unquestionable as do we hire you versus someone else. So deep work is one way to sort of future-proof yourself. And work-life balance, I'm still struggling with that. God help me. But, you know, finding work-life balance where you have time to rest. Your body, your brain, your mind, everything needs to shut down and have time to regenerate. So, you know, having work-life balance is really important. And I have here strategies for resumes and cover letters. And these are important, but I think most of you are in some sort of an institution, whether it's in school or university, where there is a career service. So I'm going to whiz through it because I think you already have access to that.
Ketty,
yes, sir.
Could we save maybe some of this for like do some of it in the next session? I have another presentation really soon.
Okay.
Yeah, Ashley and I have to. I sent you a little note, but you were in the midst of your presentation there. So I'm thinking,
let me just what I can just finish. Sorry, carry on. Carry on.
Could we wrap up in like 5-ish minutes? Is that possible?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. So one thing I want us to just go through quickly, 80-20 rule question. Only 20% of the jobs out there are being advertised, true or false? Sorry, only 20% of the jobs out there are being advertised, true or false?
True.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say true.
Okay, who thinks false? Okay, so put your like, give me your thumbs up or thumbs down. True, false, thumbs up, false, thumbs down. I think I just said the same thing twice. Okay, let me see. Are there any thumbs downs? Thumb downs? Okay, I don't think so. Okay, so true. Yeah, you're correct. What does that tell you? If only 20% of the jobs out there are being advertised, what does this tell you?
Most of the jobs are obtained through connections.
Yeah, that could be one. That could be one. Yes. Yeah. But this also means that many of us are spending 100% of our time to find 20% of the jobs. And even out of that 20%, a big chunk, they already know who they're going to hire. And we're not competing with the whole of Canada, which is fine. If you are the best, you are the best, and you will soar and you will rise above the rest. But for most people who aren't necessarily the best of the best of the best of the best, how do we access the remaining other jobs? So if only 20% are being advertised and 80% are sort of internally and referrals, how do we access those? Think about some of the things we've been mentioning already. How do we access the remaining 80%?
We need maybe to acquire the necessary skills.
Skills, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, how are they, yeah, ooh, sorry, someone was going to say something.
Oh, I said networking, sorry.
Networking, yeah. Networking. If these jobs aren't being advertised, you need to go out there and find them. And you do that through things like networking. Yeah. Yeah, one more. And this is where obviously your mentor's coming in that. Yeah, and so networking is really important. So it's really all about building connection and credibility. So you could have, so it's all about building your skills, building your qualifications, getting all the training that you require. But guess what? If you have all of that, but all you're doing is applying for jobs, you won't access the rest of them. So yes, you need to build yourself as a person, but then now you need to take yourself out there so people know what you have and can give you the jobs that you actually want so that you can actually access the jobs that you want.
Yeah, I didn't catch this in the chat, but Pamela actually said that you have to put yourself out there. So
yeah,
she caught that.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to put yourself out there. So networking is a powerful tool that can help us young people sort of access relevant career opportunities. Things like informal meetings. You can, if you find somebody, you start with low-hanging fruit. You have more people in your circle than you know, and there's always that 6 degrees of separation. So if you want to be, let's go with psychologist again. You want to be a psychologist. You're like, hey, Ike, do you know anybody who's a psychologist? Ike will be like, yeah, I do. I'll connect you to a psychologist. And Ike and that psychologist, you'd be like, okay, well, how did you get there? What did you do? How did you get there? What steps did you take? Let me know if there are any volunteering opportunities. Let me know if you hear of any jobs. Informal meetings. You can contact Rita. You can contact Carol. You can contact me. and that sort of thing. Informal meetings, they sort of build, it's an opportunity to sort of create these authentic kind of connections that may not be possible in a, let's say, formal recruitment setting. In an interview, hiring managers have a different lens, judging someone and trying to make a decision whether to proceed or not. Whereas if you're meeting in a networking, in an informal and informational interview or informational meeting, there is that pressure taken out of it. I've had lots of opportunities from just informational interviews. And yeah, so like I was saying, start with the low-hanging fruit. You have more capital than you probably realize. Networking events, again, volunteering, your mentors again. And so this is important because you just don't know what you don't know. And I think we can stop there. Okay. And what we'll do is we'll try and connect out of it. But quickly, just before we go, did anybody learn anything new, or is there an increased awareness about anything today?
Yeah, I think the end right there, like where you were saying about the 80-20 thing, like I didn't know that this whole time. Like I've been applying to jobs like online and like Indeed and all that. And I didn't know that like most of the jobs are actually not even advertised.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Thank you. Anybody else? One more, two, and then we can close.
I learned a lot about mentorship. That's for sure. I didn't know any of the clubs that you mentioned before either, so that's way new for me as well.
Okay. So if you don't remember, so Toastmasters, Rotary, Black Chambers, yeah. Yep, one more, and then we can close. One more. You have increased awareness about anything, even if you didn't learn anything new necessarily.
Soft skills.
Yeah, what about soft skills? Like
me myself, like I like how different people navigate them, or what it means for different people. I think that was quite enlightening for me.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Well, I think, and Papa Nemi said, I think you said that already. You have to put yourself out there. Yeah. And so there are a few things I wanted to do. So we will probably do that maybe in the first 20 minutes of our next session to finish that off. And then we will start the new item next week on the 27th. And so thank you all. I really appreciate you staying. I see everybody stayed. I really appreciate it. I hope you found it. Thank you, Lavi. I hope you found it useful and valuable. And again, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions about anything. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Nketi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you later, guys. Look out for our session next Thursday, I'm pretty sure.